Unfinished Business by Alice Elizabeth.
Coming up on your left, Frankie. Check out the cams on this broad.
You can't just say things like that, you know.
Oh, why not? I'm just giving a compliment to this lovely lady. She should be honored.
They'd had this conversation, or versions of it, countless times since Polly has come into her life, and Francesca was tired of it. So tired. No, women don't want unsolicited compliments on their bodies. They especially don't want them from men who have been dead for 80 years, she said.
I can say whatever I like. You're the only one who can hear me anyway.
Yeah, lucky me. The stewardess stopped at Francesca's seat and asked if she needed anything.
Whiskey neat,
said Polly, unhelpfully. No, thank you. I'm fine, Francesca said.
You're no fun,
said Polly, unhelpfully. If you change your mind, you know where to find me, the stewardess said with a too big smile and continued on her way down the aisle. I'm gonna try and get some sleep now, Polly. It's a long flight to Chicago.
Alright, Frankie, you rest your pretty little head. I'm gonna go see if that dame's up for a haunting, if you know what I mean.
He winked at Francesca as he floated past. Try not to be too much of a creep, Polly, Francesca said, pulling the sleep mask over her eyes. 2 years ago, Francesca had been in a terrible car accident. She'd nearly died. In fact, she had been clinically dead for a few minutes until the paramedics had resuscitated her at the scene. During those few minutes, she'd watched her own body from afar and knew that she was dying. Only one person heard her cries, a man dressed in an old-fashioned double-breasted suit and a fedora.
What seems to be the problem, ma'am?
He'd said. Francesca couldn't speak. She just looked around and spread her arms to indicate the whole mess of car and guardrail and her in front of them.
Oh, that's you, huh?
He nodded slowly.
I'd go back if I was you. Ghosting ain't as much fun as you might think. You'll be dead a long time. You should take the chance to live if you can. Here, let me help you.
And he reached his hand out towards her. The next thing she knew, she was in the hospital. The man came to visit her often. At first, she thought it was brain damage from the accident. But after she'd healed and gone home, he was still there. Polly had died in 1938 in Chicago. He'd been a ghost since then, but he didn't really know why.
Probably something to do with unfinished business, you know?
Is what he'd said. Once he became a ghost, he decided he was free to travel, visiting countries he'd never been to in real life, seeing the great wonders of the world. From time to time, he'd met other ghosts, but according to him, they were an unfriendly bunch.
They mostly just mope around the place where they were buried, right? I don't know why they're so miserable. The way I see it, I got more freedom now than I ever had when I was alive. I couldn't so much as visit the local whorehouse without it getting back to the boss how long I'd been there and which girls I'd visited. Jeez.
Francesca had tried to get rid of him at first. Sometimes he'd go away for weeks at a time, but he always came back. In the end, she figured he was lonely. Not that he'd admit that, of course. How come you keep hanging around me, Polly? We don't really get along. You piss me off with your misogynistic worldviews, and I annoy you by trying to convince you that we do things better these days.
I feel responsible for you. I saw you in that car crash and told you to go back to your body. I feel like I'm your godfather or something now, huh? I gotta make sure you don't waste your life now that you've been given a second chance.
Eventually, Francesca had had enough and told Polly to stay away from her. He'd done so for a while, but as always, he came back. At first, Francesca ignored him, pretended she couldn't see him anymore.
I know you can hear me, Frankie,
Polly had whispered into her ear while she was trying to watch a movie on one of the first dates she'd been on in years.
I'll make a deal with you. You come with me to Chicago and help me finish my unfinished business, and I'll leave you alone. You take care of the corporeal stuff that I can't do, and once it's all done, poof, I'll disappear off the wherever it is that ghosts go when they stop being ghosts.
You can't say that word, she'd whispered.
What word?
Polly asked. Poof. It means something else. It's offensive to some people. Her date looked over at her warily. She didn't think there'd be a second one. It was raining when the plane landed in the Windy City. Okay, Polly, I'm gonna go get some rest. Let's start on your revenge plan tomorrow.
Hey, no problem, Toots. You go get your beauty sleep, and I'll lay the groundwork for some good old-fashioned haunting.
Francesca woke up in the hotel the next morning to a pile of flyers that Polly was idly haunting.
I got him, Frankie.
Polly said, and floated one of the flyers up in front of her sleepy face. She eyed the smiling face on the glossy paper. Senator Pecorino? She asked.
Yeah, look at that mook. Look at that shit-eating grin, those beady rat eyes. Just like his backstabbing father.
What did he do? Francesca asked.
What did he do? He did me, that's what. Did me over, did me in, did me right in the back of the head with a .38 special is what he did.
Polly said. He took off his fedora and pointed to the bullet hole that went right through his skull.
I don't just wear this hat to cover a bald spot, you know.
Senator Pecorino killed you? This guy can't be any older than 65 at the most. You've been dead for 80-something years.
No, but it was his palooka of a father. You know what they say.
What? What do they say, Polly?
The sins of the father don't fall far from the son's sins, and the trees pay for the... You know what I'm saying.
So you want to take your revenge on a well-known public figure because his father killed you 80 years ago.
Yeah, that's my unfinished business, Toots. I gots to do it, or I gots to get you to do it, because, I'm a ghost and I can't really do much on my own.
And we have to kill him? We can't just rattle some chains in his attic, or make all his houseplants die, or something a little less permanent? Francesca asked.
We're talking about my immortal soul here, Frankie. We gotta do this right.
I can't do that. It's not 1928 anymore, and I'm no gangster.
Ah, come on,
said Polly.
It can't be that hard. I'm sure we can get our hands on a Tommy gun around here somewhere. There used to be a guy just around that corner.
That's not the point. I'm not a killer. Polly pulled his fedora low, lowering his face in shadow as a suddenly cunning gleam shone from his eyes.
Yeah, we'll see, doll. We'll see.